Hello, everybody. I am not Matt Graham. I do not have a kid, and I live in Florida, so I am definitely not an isolation station. But welcome, anyways, to After Dark. As the title says, this is the one where no one shows up. We most likely will be joined by Maddie in a little bit. He had some quality time spending with his kid, and that always comes before anything else. So instead, it'll be me, myself, and not I am joined by the Mandalorians, Nikki and Devin.
John Cena!
Oh, not John Cena. Okay, I thought we had John Cena tonight, guys. Sorry. I thought it was like the Saturday. This is the only show we have before Halloween. So I thought we were doing costumes tonight. And I like got dressed up in full costume. And then nobody showed up. And now I'm just a grown man in a Robin costume on a Saturday night with Devin.
So it makes you Dick Grayson.
Until you got to the last part, that was the start of something.
Yeah. Everyone's celebrating Halloween tonight, apparently, and not next week when Halloween actually happens on a Saturday. But
it does? Fuck math.
Yeah, Halloween's on a Saturday. That's part of the reason I actually won't be here.
I'm like, no, okay, it's Friday. Well, that sucks.
Yeah.
The 30th is Friday.
Oh, fuck. Oh, we'll have some Mando stuff, too.
Doo-doo.
Oh, yeah, it does. It starts airing on the 30th, right?
No, next week we'll be able to, talk about Mando stuff.
Friday the 30th, yeah. Shit, I got to put that in my calendar so I can remember to watch
Halloween was Friday. I thought it was coming out
thought
on
it was airing on Halloween. Oh.
I thought it was coming out the 14th.
No, that was Discovery. That was Star Trek, not Star Wars.
Shit.
They're not the same thing?
Also the day. The
JJ
14th,
told me they were.
The 14th was also the day that Benjamin Moore came up with the color of the year for 2021, Aegean teal.
Who gives a fuck?
Exactly. It was the wrong color.
I don't know who that is, and I don't care.
I'm so lost. What's happening?
Sorry, my father works in the paint
Should
department.
have been blood red. That makes more sense now.
There's a third of I just want to point out there is a third of the normal crew here, and we still got off track and got lost.
Why not?
No. So we'll be going by ourselves for a little bit. Hopefully, some of our helpers who have access to our stream can hop in at some point, and if they don't, maybe we'll open it up and take some other people watching in. Shout out to you guys watching. Thank you for being here. So we have a couple of I pulled up some different news stories, just some topics to kind of lead the direction of the conversation into some different things. But before we get into those, the first thing that I want to do, because we were talking about it before we went live, is I do want to plug a movie that I just saw that is on digital streaming, and it is in about 400 theaters. So if you are comfortable going to a theater and it is near you, I would definitely recommend seeing it. It's a new movie that's come out last week called Love and Monsters. It stars Maze Runner's Dylan O'Brien. And it is honestly one of the most entertaining films I've seen this year. Now, being said, there are far less releases this year than in previous years, but that doesn't dispute the fact that the movie is incredibly entertaining. It's essentially all the feel of a giant blockbuster, but on a much smaller scale. There's only about 5 main characters, and a large chunk of the film is Dylan O'Brien on his own with a dog. And for a movie that was made for like 25-30 million, the CG effects on it are insanely good. Essentially, the plot pitch is it's 7 years after a meteorite was supposed to crash into Earth, and Earth's response was to send nukes up to blow it up. And it worked, but the nukes radiated the rocks and then crashed towards Earth and mutated a lot of animals.
I could have told you that was going to happen.
within the Earth. And so it's 7 years later, and there are these giant monsters, and Dylan O'Brien plays a guy who decides to trek, I think it's like 90 miles west, to find the girl that he had loved 7 years prior. And it is exactly what the title suggests it is. It is love, and there are a lot of monsters. I don't want to go too much into spoilers because it is still a new release, and I'm the only one here who's seen it, but I would love for people to watch it because it was It was highly entertaining in terms of like movies I've been able to see in a theater. It's up there, man. Like basically Tenet's ahead of it, and that's it. Oh, I thought The Gentleman was pretty great too. But
Bad
other
Boys,
than
The
that,
Gentleman was good, but Bad Boys for Life is still #1 at the box office for me this year.
well, the box office statistically, you can't beat that one.
It was so long ago, yeah. But if we were under regular Oscar rules this year, like if they had just stuck to it, I understand why they didn't. But if they had just stuck to it, Bad Boys for Life would have been nominated for Best Picture. You cannot tell me
I wouldn't dispute that.
Were better at than it that came out this year.
No, I think there are movies that are better than it, but half of them were like streaming.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah.
But I don't even think there were any on streaming that were like Mulan. For me, like Mulan was the one, like the only one that even came close because that was the only one that had like blockbuster action. Like what I go to the movie
I guess what you're looking for. Yeah. Because like I was gonna say, like I thought The Five Bloods was better. I thought Palm Springs was better. But it's in my top 10. Like I'm not gonna refute that it's not a great film, and especially because I saw the third one first, and then I went back and saw 1 and 2, and then I watched 3 again.
It's definitely the best of the 3.
It's infinitely better than the first 2.
Oh my God.
Those 2 are basically bad movies riding along on good chemistry from those guys.
Yeah, they're almost spoofs.
But the third one is a legitimately good film, so it's like though apparently those are the 2 that directed it, Adil and Bilal, are in talks. I think it was another franchise like that. They're in talks to do like a Beverly Hills Cop or a Lethal Weapon or one of those. Like they want to revamp. I'm totally down for that. I forget which one it is, but I'd be down for it because I think it was very impressive. I know they'd made films like in Belgium and Europe before, but for a big debut like that, it was impressive.
And it wasn't as funny as the first 2, but I don't need it to be funny. Like the thing is with that movie, I was so like just hooked to the action, to the story. And if you haven't seen, it's Gemini Man but better. It's Gemini Man but good. Like this is what I wanted when I saw Gemini Man, and like it's great. Martin Lawrence, come on, give this guy more jobs. This guy can still act. He's still funny. He looks great. Like he's lost a lot of weight.
I was going to say, just to comment it out, Chris, I'm seeing a lot of the movies you're putting in the comments. I haven't seen any of them. I do plan to check out as many as I can in the near future, especially you mentioned Trial of Chicago 7. I've always liked Darren Sorkin's writing, and I thought Molly's Game was good, so I'm excited to see.
Right now, so I'm on a big like Sorkin. Like the way he writes is almost poetic. You know what I'm saying? Like
it is.
It repeats, it rhymes, it like because there's a way that he writes, like even like on something like with The West Wing, where he'll bring up a subject, they'll talk, they'll bring up the subject again, they'll talk, and then they'll bring up the subject again the third time. Like you'll be, okay, I lost my shoes. Okay, where'd you put them? Where'd I put what? You said you lost your shoes. Like it'll go around and it repeats the same like subject over and over.
Like a pattern rhetoric to the way that
there's a poetry, there's math to the way that Sorkin writes. Yeah.
I mean, which makes sense when you hear him speak. I mean, I've never heard someone who can literally break down the science in perception of art the way that he can.
And he's the only person I've ever seen to wear like a full, like really nice suit on like one of those Zoom call interviews that we've gotten during like COVID. Like the West Wing cast was on Colbert a couple weeks ago. It's just, they're all kind of like in their home setups. And then there's just Sorkin wearing like this probably $1,000 Tom Ford suit that like would put anybody to shame. That's what I do though. Like when I'm just at home alone, like that's when I dress at my best. Like look at me right now.
Fair enough. I don't dress up for the show. I wear what I was wearing for the rest of the day. So, or
what?
You rubbing your head? You all right?
Yeah.
Do you have anything interesting? There's only 3 of us. Give us some content.
All I've got is "Don't stand so close to me" by the Police repeating in my head.
All right. Well, how's about this? I'll go ahead and throw our first news story out. And since I already off camera mentioned the other crazy news story, which we'll get to in a minute, I'll go ahead and throw the one at you guys that I haven't talked about yet. So earlier this week, it was announced that Get Out and Black Panther star Daniel Kaluuya would be working as a producer on an upcoming theatrical Barney film. Yes, you heard me right, Barney the dinosaur. Daniel Kaluuya will be working as a producer to bring this film to life alongside whatever studio decides to pick it up.
Producing, not acting.
Possibly. I mean, there's always the possibility he appears in it to some extent, but as of now, he is basically spearhead producing. Yes. So to comment further, when asked about why, his quote was, "Barney taught us, in quote, I love you, you love me. Won't you say you love me too?" End quote.
Okay.
That is one of the first songs I remember, and what happens when that isn't true. I thought it was really heartbreaking. I have no idea why, but it feels like that makes sense now. It feels like there's something unexpected that can actually be poignant but optimistic, especially at this time now. I think it's really, really needed. And when you put it like that, it kind of makes some sense. Devin's got his hands on his head like he's just been shot. What are you thinking, man?
I'm just picturing, Devin, you go first, because I'm working on this.
All I can think of is that Banana Splits movie that took the.
So Barney falls in love with a white woman and then goes to meet her parents. And then Bradley Whitford's there. He's like a mad scientist. And he tries to transplant an old white man's brain into the purple dinosaur that is Barney.
Oh,
I think that's just Get Out Again.
That sounds like Get Out Again.
That's what they could call it. Get Out Again.
Get Out Again.
Okay.
Get Out Again.
Okay.
Yeah, it's after the COVID's done. Get out again, everyone. It's a good message.
I think Devin's put his thoughts together. Go ahead.
Hey, we see that save, everybody?
How much money goes down the drain if that breaks?
Okay, like, so you have the article in front of you, right?
Yeah, I do. I have pieces of it. I can scroll up and down. Why, are you trying to get more information out of this? I can read some more.
Is it just going to be an episode of the show, or are they going to bring in Jordan Peele and like?
Peele's not attached.
I don't see how that would.
So okay, so
I know that, but like,
what?
There's okay, so there's nothing more than there's nothing more on it than the actual quote that he gave and that he's producing. That's basically all the information we have. The article, and I would agree with the article I have in front of me. Their inference is that, judging by the way that Daniel Kaluuya was talking about the message, like in the "I Love You" song from Barney, it sounds like, and Chris put in the comments, he mentioned the 2011 Muppets, which was the Muppets, but it tried to bring not an edge, but a more almost adult theming by making
the one that had Tina Fey in it.
Tina Fey may have been in. No. The 2011 one was Jason Segel, Amy Adams, and Walter the Puppet, the new puppet, right? But like,
I knew Jason Segel.
That's a Muppet movie, but it I mean, it's an Oscar. I believe it won the Oscar that year. Man or Muppet, which is like, that's a song about question. No, but seriously, think about it. That's a song about questioning who you are in a Muppets film. And I know it sounds insane to put it that way, but it is what it is. It's literally two different guys singing about how they don't know who they are, they may not understand who they are, and coming to terms with who they are. And when you phrase it like that, it sounds like a coming out song, but it's actually about, are you a man or are you a Muppet?
So what I look at this is what happens when everybody doesn't clean up, everyone everywhere. What happens when everyone doesn't do their share?
Did you look that up, or did you remember that?
No, I remember that. And
That's
it's really
great.
important to me that Daniel Kaluuya is attached to this project. Because one thing that I always thought when I watched Barney was, I need Barney, but with more black people in it. So I do hope that this is much like Jordan Peele, Get Out. Jordan Peele, I would love it if he made a cameo in it. Daniel Kaluuya had a lot of co-stars in Black Panther that could show up. Angela Bassett, why not? Bring her in a Barney movie. Anyway,
Michael B. Jordan stars
from the Beyond.
No, honestly, like, there's not much to go on. I pulled it because it's a funny headline, and I got the laugh that I wanted out of it. But no,
Maybe
honestly,
after the events of Black Panther,
God,
what was his name?
His character,
yeah,
Wakabi.
Wakabi. Thank you. Why couldn't I think of that? Okay, so Wakabi is exiled from Wakanda, and then finds himself in the Barney house with a big purple dinosaur. And it's The Odd Couple, but with Barney and Wakabi. And they have this big rhinoceros there. And the rhinoceros is played by Paul Giamatti.
Okay, we're moving on.
I am the rhino.
Oh, actually, I've been rewatching the
Spider-Man for Paul Giamatti's return.
I've been rewatching the Spider-Man films, and I've actually seen them all now within the last few weeks, except for that one. That's the next one on the list.
So can you do me a favor? Watch that one, because I think it's amazing that they're bringing Jamie Foxx back. That's the one that is confirmed, because he is by far, without a doubt, the worst part of that movie. You take Jamie Foxx's Electro out of that movie's a good Spider-Man movie.
Okay, were you trying to make fun?
No, good, but it's better. It's better.
It's so good. The stuff without Jamie Foxx is so good. I was not trying to make fun. The stuff with Goblin, the stuff with Gwen Stacy, the stuff with Ghost Dad Dennis Leary. I see Ghost Dad Dennis Leary a lot in my everyday life. It could just be actual Dennis Leary. He's from around here. But I like that movie.
Yeah. Here's what I'll say. I think if you take Jamie Foxx out, I think you have a foundation to expand upon other pieces that could lead to a good film. But if we're talking about everything as delivered in the film, I'm certainly not convinced. Oh, we have somebody jumping in. Ladies and gentlemen, our first member joining us for the night, Dr. Spaceman behind the wheel.
True, I'm behind the wheel. I'm behind the wheel. I'm rolling in to all kinds of stuff. I'm losing my voice.
Oh, that's not good.
Oh, no.
It really isn't.
Steering wheel, though. That's pretty cool.
I do have a BB-8 steering wheel. But as I was driving, I said, I can't let my boys down. I got to see how y'all doing. What's up, you guys? How's life?
Talking about Amazing Spider-Man 2. Everybody says that the last scene of that movie is a travesty because you don't get to see the fight with the Rhino. But I think the last scene of that movie is great because you get to see Peter Parker come back as Spider-Man. He's quipping. He's got the megaphone. He saves that little kid who just walks out in front of the Rhino in his little Spider-Man costume. It's just adorable. And then
I agree.
And then credits. I love that.
I actually agree. I think Amazing Spider-Man 2 is way better than it gets credit for. I liked it way better than the first Amazing Spider-Man.
First one was a retread, but worse.
Exactly. I didn't need it. The only scene I liked was the lizard scene when they were fighting in the library. That was it.
It's great.
Yeah. Because Stan Lee's just there. Yeah.
Exactly.
And I like it when
Stan Lee's
window. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was cool. I thought we didn't need the Goblin as much as we got in Spider-Man 2. But, overall, it's not terrible. We got way more, I think, really awesome, Spider-Man action. He looked awesome, flying through, it was great.
And that first fight with Electro is pretty good, where he's just coming into his powers and he needs to save those people from getting zapped. That's pretty cool.
I was going to say, my problem with that. So I actually agree with your point, Nikki. I think the last scene from a emotional standpoint, I'm gonna rewatch it in the next day or two. But from an emotional standpoint for Spider-Man, I actually agree with you that scene works really, really well just as is. I think the problem with that is that they literally used the last shot of the film consistently in every piece of marketing, like it was setting up for something. And then all it does is lead to nothing. And I think that's just the initial set-in disappointment of what? But honestly, for the scene itself, I honestly didn't have a problem with it. Also because I thought Giamatti's a brilliant actor. Whatever they were having him do with that Rhino, I was not a fan of. So the less he's on screen, the better.
He was his character from Sideways. It's the same character. He has a rhino exosuit on now. See, I hear you. I hear you. I hear everything you're saying. But it's one of those things that I've come to love.
No, that's fair.
It's like with Mr. Freeze, Let's Kick Some Ice. Every time I see Paul Giamatti, I just have to go, I am the rhino.
No.
And every time I see rhinos too.
Oh, here, actually, so since I was gonna say in a minute I'll pitch Alan the very incredible story I just pitched you guys. But Chris brings up an interesting thing in the comics. Did you guys ever see the alternate ending with Peter's dad being alive?
Yeah, and they have the with great power with great responsibility line in that ending. I think it's interesting. I don't like it. I don't like the scene because we never get an Amazing Spider-Man 3. If we have an Amazing Spider-Man 3, I'd rather that scene.
It pays off. Yeah, I see why it got cut.
Yeah. The reason I like it too is because the way Amazing Spider-Man 2 ends, it's just an open and kind of like an open ending where it's like, okay, Goblin's recruiting the Sinister Six. Obviously, they were setting up for that. But if you're just watching it as a movie, it has like kind of what those old movies had, like from when I was growing up, where you kind of have to write your own ending. Because what happened was Peter got beat as bad as he possibly could have, and he still got up. He's still Spider-Man. He came back. So that's why like I always look at that movie with fondness, because he like by the end of that movie, he's the Spider-Man that we know. Like it's like, okay, kid, get off the street. I'm gonna protect you. Go like kiss your mom for me. I'm Spider-Man. I'm gonna fight the Rhino, and then credits.
Nice.
So I always liked it. It's an emotional scene. It's like the voiceover with Gwen is played really well. I like it. I always thought people were too rough on that movie. I think it's the fourth. I think it's better than Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 3. I think it's better than Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah, so it's not the worst Spider-Man movie. That's what I have to say about it.
I was gonna say if because I'd said to them before, I won't go in depth, but I was telling them I've been doing a Spider-Man rewatch, and the only movie I have left is Amazing Spider-Man 2. So I was gonna say, if you guys want to hear my rankings real quick, I know one of them you'll majorly disagree with, but I can just rattle the names off. So here, I'll rattle the names off, and then you can judge me. So I put Venom on there, but from 8th to 1st, Venom's last, then Spider-Man, then Spider-Man 3, then Amazing Spider-Man, then Homecoming, Spider-Man 2, Far From Home, and then Into the Spider-Verse.
Okay, read those again. Don't count Venom because it's bottom end.
Okay, hold up 1 second. Sorry. All right, so
don't count Venom.
I'm sorry. Is Venom behind there with you? Did he get offended?
He might get offended. He might take him out.
It'll be okay. All right, so Spider-Man, Spider-Man 3, The Amazing Spider-Man, Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man 2, Far From Home, Into the Spider-Verse.
All right.
You put Far From Home that high?
Over
I really like
1.
it, yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
It's interesting.
I
just think it's funny that Spider-Man's the lowest.
So I talked about this a little bit last week when Craig was here. To me, I think Spider-Man has some really good moments in it. But for me, my taste, it's a little too corny and a little too dated at times. So for me personally, it doesn't hold the weight that the others do. So this speaks
to your age. And I don't want to play old man here. This speaks to your age. Because when Amazing Spider-Man 1 came out, you were, how old were you? 11?
Amazing Spider-Man came out in 2012. So I would have been probably 12 or 13.
Okay. See, that I think is what explains it, because that's the age that I was when I saw the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. Like, it was around that age. And what me and Alan were just saying with how the Amazing Spider-Man is kind of a retread, but worse. I'm curious to think, which one did you see first? Had you seen the Tobey Maguire one?
I did. I had seen the Maguire one first, and I even though I like Amazing Spider-Man overall far better than the original Spider-Man, I will agree with you that the things that it tries to mimic closest to Spider-Man, with the one exception being the interactions with Flash Thompson, I think it is done worse in the Amazing Spider-Man.
That's probably why you like it better, though, is because like you were at that age.
But like with great power comes great responsibility is the perfect succinction version of that line. I've always thought if you have the power and the ability to do right and you choose not to, then it's your responsibility. It's just a clunky way to try and deliver that sentiment.
I mean, Sorkin did not write that line for President Bartlett in that scene.
No, and like there are certain things, but so the things that it tries to mimic, I actually do think for the most part, again, like I said, I think the development that they do between him, Flash, and the Amazing Spider-Man is actually done really well. I like that version.
Flash is in that.
I like that version of Flash is a little more three-dimensional in that you can see, even though he is the bully, he's not just dumb jock bully. There's a little more there. And they were apparently going to do more in the sequel, but a lot of it got cut around the same time they cut the Mary Jane stuff out.
So there's Joe Manganiello in Spider-Man. There's Tony Ravioli in The Homecoming. Who's Flash in Amazing Spider-Man?
He's basically an unknown. The actor's name is Chris Zelka. He's basically an unknown. He's basically an unknown.
Because he gets bullied by
he was in it too.
Like does the basketball like he dunks on?
Well, he's in it in a few scenes because he hits him at the beginning when he tries to defend him. There's the stuff in the basketball court. There's when he walks up to him in the hallway and tries to apologize about his uncle, and he pins him against the locker. There's a shot of him during the library fight. You see him in the aftermath of it. And then there's another bit at the end of the movie with him. He's in more than one. That's where
Amazing Spider-Man didn't work for me, was that, especially like during like the high school parts. I hate high school stuff. But Tobey Maguire, Tom Holland, those two, they seem like nerds.
Oh, Andrew Garfield, not a nerd.
That is a hunk with a skateboard who would have no problem getting with Emma Stone before he was Spider-Man. Like I had a problem with that because like Andrew Garfield is too like Hollywood to be Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire's Hollywood, but he's still a dork.
The only thing holding Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker back from dating MJ is that Joe Biden level stutter. Like, he is just stuttering through half his dialogue in the first half of it. It's like, that's a character trait you clearly, like, man, you're too pretty. Act nerdy.
Yeah. Is that the writing? What is
What's up?
Nice, Aaron.
Is that the right? That's the thing. All the product in his hair. Like, he's supposed to be this nerd with his nerd glasses, and I'm a nerd.
Great hair.
I wish I had.
He got nice hair.
Look at that hair.
He got pretty hair, bro. Pretty hair.
That hair costs $1 million a day.
Hell yeah, it did.
Chris is right, though. I do agree with that. One of my takedowns over all three, and I made this joke to my friends, one of my biggest criticisms of the Sam Raimi trilogy, not that I think either of their individual performances are bad, because I think they both have good moments, but Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst have the chemistry of a corpse. Like, there's nothing.
Yeah, they got nothing.
Kirsten?
I think that...
Did I say it wrong? Kirsten, right? Oh, yeah.
Kristen?
It's Kirsten.
It's a joke in Deadpool.
Kirsten.
It's Kirsten. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone have infinitely more chemistry, and they make up like my thing that I've always said about
Amazing Spider-Man 2.
My thing that I've always said about Amazing Spider-Man 2 is Amazing Spider-Man 2 is like this brilliant Mark Webb rom-com in a terrible Spider-Man film. Like all the stuff with Spider-Man, I think is,
when she died.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But even I think the stuff with Goblin is rushed and horribly done.
It's so rushed.
But up until the Switch, I think Dane DeHaan does a great job in that film as Harry Osborn.
My only problem is that the character lacks logic. I mean, your father just died.
Yeah.
Like he's 30 years older than you. Spider-Man didn't say he wasn't going to help you. He just said that he had to look into it. So that's something that I feel like he's a smart guy. He would have just been like, yeah, okay, let's work together on this. We'll make sure we get it right.
Yeah, we'll do
it.
Right?
I was talking about it with my brother, and because we were talking about that specifically, like, because he said he never understood like why he wanted his blood, and I explained it all out to him, and he was like, "Oh, I get it now." But why was he in such a rush? And I was like, "Listen, I can't fix bad screenwriting. I can just explain it."
Yeah, the rush is the problem.
Exactly.
Like
I always go with my favorite films. Yeah. my favorite Spider-Man films, I always go on rewatchability.
Okay.
And I can watch Spider-Man 2, the Raimi one. I can watch it every day. I love that movie.
Wait,
I love
the new one?
No, it's Sam Raimi.
No.
Oh,
Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2.
One, yeah.
I can watch that one over and over.
I have that at my top, and then I have Far From Home second.
That's mine too. Spider-Man 2, and then Far From Home is second after that. I really do enjoy. I enjoy Spider-Verse, but I don't enjoy rewatching it.
Okay, see, that's why
I
that's
just
why
don't.
it is. So to give you an idea of how close it is, so like Amazing Spider-Man is my number 5, but I have all 5 of those top films at an 8 out of 10 or above. So they're all very close to each other.
Yeah.
Spider-Verse to me, I bumped from originally, I think I gave it a 9. I bumped it to a 10 because I've seen it 5 or 6 times since it came out, and I can rewatch it and enjoy it. Like, it just works.
I can watch certain scenes over. I mean, because I love everything with the Prowler. Love it.
Yes. Mahershala
love those scenes. Love it. I'm not a big fan of the Kingpin stuff.
Oh, okay, fair. Fair.
I like the Doc Ock stuff. I like Spider-Gwen a lot.
Cage is great.
But the scenes after Peter B. Parker and they kind of go through that, I get kind of tired of those. I just okay, I get it.
Bum Peter, I don't like. I don't like Bum Peter.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Bum Peter.
That movie matures as it goes on, though. That's what I like about that movie is because at the beginning of that movie, I'm like, okay, I'm just kind of sitting here. I got the ticket because it's a Spider-Man movie. It's in theaters. There's nothing out this weekend. And then by the third act, when they get to the third act, I'm like, okay, he's Spider-Man.
Yeah, and I don't like it when the hero gets mopey. I hate scenes of, I don't want to do this anymore. And Miles had just a few too many moments of, I don't want to do this. Just a couple too many. If he would have cut a couple of those scenes out. But at the end of it, I love the end because when he says, I'm Spider, fuck yeah, you are. And he's great. Yeah.
Yeah. See, and like, even though I unabashedly love the film, I can rewatch it anytime. I see where you're coming from. I certainly see that there. It's just, there are some things that just, like, my go-to example has been for years and probably forever. I will forever call Force Awakens a 10 out of 10. Not because it's a perfect film by any stretch of the imagination, but because it's something that I can rewatch over and over again. And every time every time I do, it brings back that same feeling of when I saw it in the theater and the excitement and the hype. And it's like, it works. It's just on that. It's not perfect, but it works. Yeah.
Hey, right there. I love it too, baby. BB-8 forever. BB-8 for life. And that's part of why the more I've rewatched Last Jedi, I've enjoyed it more.
It gets better.
But that first watching of Last Jedi, I went, I think I hate this.
It's just
it didn't do what Force Awakens did. Force Awakens brought back that magic.
Because my first time I saw Force Awakens, I was so like I feel like everybody says they felt after Last Jedi where they were like, I really don't know how to feel about that. After I watched Force Awakens, it just was like so much like further from what I was expecting. Like I was expecting to see Luke Skywalker. Like I was ready for that. And then I saw it and I was like, okay, I don't know if I like this or not. And then I watched it again. I'm like, I fucking love this movie. I love that movie.
Yeah.
And again, talk about like the last scene of the movie kind of being a tease, her holding up the Jedi steps and then her holding out the lightsaber. I don't care what comes out after that, even though I like The Last Jedi, that is an incredible moment. That scene where she walks up the steps, holds up the light, and then it just ends out. Oh, I love that ending. Directed by J.J.
It's awesome. Yeah, that's an awesome
ending on
it's a great movie. I love
Ryan Johnson.
Yeah. And I can't. That's the thing, though. As much as I love that ending, anything that happened in The Last Jedi that people have a problem with Ryan Johnson, like as far as like character development, where he like picks it up right from the start, that was JJ's fault. Like that right there, I actually blame JJ for that because JJ should have just directed all 3. Because if JJ
exactly, he should
like gotten the awkward transition between 7 and 8. Because even though I love 8, it's just that's why the trilogy as a whole kind of seems like okay, it's over because 8 is still, it's almost like it's 7 part 2.
Yeah, and it's like to me,
Never
it's
seen
like
that.
if like because I've spoken to people who don't like Last Jedi, but they can explain for plot reasons or certain things in the film why they don't like it, and that's fair. I've also met a bunch of people who don't like Last Jedi, and they go, "Well, it was so different from Force Awakens, and it didn't do this, and it didn't do this," and I was like, "Well, that's not
stuff
right.
I don't like.
That's not right." Well, to me, at least, the way I look at it is that's not Rian Johnson's fault.
No.
In my opinion, Rian Johnson made the best film that he could have, and I didn't love everything, but I liked a lot of it. But if you're mad because
the Jedi, though. Like Leia wasn't Luke's sister in the first one. Like the story evolves as you're going along.
Yeah.
So it's like if you're mad because he chose to not write the twist the way a different director implied it could go, then that's not on him because he wasn't told you have to do this.
Exactly.
Because if he was, then he either does it or he walks, and we don't get that movie. It's one or the other.
And I said this earlier this week to Alan. I said that movie has a sword fight in it. I love it. And that's literally all. Like that throne room sequence, I don't care what happens in the rest of that movie. Good. Just because that sequence is in the movie, I love that movie. Everything with Luke, Kylo Ray. I have that poster right there. It's the
I
first
love the slow-mo start of it where they just slow it down as they go.
And it's Ray. That's what the movie's about. Everything else is the thing. Yeah. Ray's holding up the saber, and then it has like Luke and Kylo and Shadow. Yeah. That's your meat right there. Everything else.
That's true. Well, I think the beginning of it is the best looking Star Wars film.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's beautifully filmed. The ship, that fucking dreadnought, looks gorgeous.
Dreadnought,
and it looks real. And it looks real. It looks like that's a ship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Protect the bombers.
Yeah, bombers keep that tight formation. Fighters protect the bombers.
Yeah.
Tally Adventure, great. Like, and yeah, that's the thing. That opening sequence, the best thing that Rian Johnson does with that sequence is he takes two characters that are not in the rest of the movie, and he tells like this short story about them. On the Imperial side, you have Captain Kennedy, and then on the Resistance side, you have Paige Tico, which I think they kind of did it. I think Paige Tico should have been the actress that played her, should have played Rose, and Rose should have played Paige. Because the thing is, with that scene with Paige Tico, she barely says anything, but you get everything about her character just from her actions, from her emotions. And it's the same thing with Captain Kennedy. You know who that guy is. This is this gruff Imperial officer that can't believe he's serving with these noob idiots. And he tells this little short story, and the best part is it goes silent when like the bombs are dropping. It's like, and it's this John Williams score. You see Poe like yelling, "Get up." It's so good.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So now I can't forgive Knives Out with the morphine thing. I still think it's an okay movie. Like I think it's a good movie. I like Knives Out. It's just I can't call that movie a smart movie. I think that is an incredibly dumb movie, but I love it.
I agree. Knives Out is good entertainment. It's fun. The actors all do a hell of a job, but it's not the greatest murder mystery whodunit thing ever.
Smart enough to know that his maid's gonna get deported if she's caught like overdosing. But that's the thing that's wrong with that is that if you've ever been on like painkillers in your life, like surgically, like for like post-injury stuff, if somebody just shot you up with enough morphine to kill you, you're not gonna be able to hold a knife, let alone compute all this stuff in your head. Like that should have been a light bulb right there. Okay, it doesn't feel like I've just been injected with morphine. Maybe she did it right. It's just one of those things for me. That as soon as we saw that in the theater, I turned over to them and I'm like, he just took. He wouldn't be able to hold that knife if he was on that.
He wouldn't be doing anything. He'd be on the float.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, that's what he'd be like.
All right. So I was gonna throw it to you before, but before I move on to another news story, Alan, let me pitch this to you, okay?
All right.
Daniel Kaluuya was confirmed earlier this week to be spearheading as a producer an upcoming theatrical version of Barney the Dinosaur.
Would you
Now, his reasoning behind it, to paraphrase his quote, is essentially from a young age, kids are taught by Barney the message of, I love you, you love me, we're all a happy family.
And to clean up and do your share.
And basically, in all the issues that the world is having today and everything that has been happening over the last few months, he said he just instinctively felt that something felt right about making this movie in this time.
It's an allegory for global warming. If you don't do your share, the world's going to end.
The world's going to end. If they could pull it off, hell yes. I mean, we've seen weirder properties come and get a second life. I'm not thinking of any right now, but it's happened before.
Power Rangers was good.
Yeah, Power Rangers was fine. I actually enjoyed Power Rangers. I thought Elizabeth Banks was awesome. They've done it, so why the hell not? I mean, am I going to rush out to see it? No, but I would be interested if it was on an Amazon Prime or a streaming. Hell yeah, I'd check it out just because. Why not? I mean, I watched almost all of the new Borat before I said, "Oh hell no, I can't do this anymore." Hell? Exactly. What the hell? It was, guy, you should have left it dead. It was no, it didn't happen.
Brought up Borat. Diaz is bringing it up in the chat. Borat. My problem with Borat is that I don't even think the first Borat was good. Borat got old when the movie came out. Like that marketing, that viral marketing that they had for the first Borat, that create like the new day and age viral marketing, especially all the stuff that Reynolds does every time a Deadpool movie comes out. At that time, then that movie came out, people could not differentiate between Sacha Baron Cohen and Borat.
And Borat, yeah. But
then as soon as I saw that movie, it got old. Like, as soon as I saw that movie, I'm like, okay, everything that was funny about this guy was done in the marketing, and the movie isn't as good as the character. So as soon as I saw Borat 2 was happening, I'm like, this isn't going to be that
Why
good.
do it? All right, I got to jump out because my show's opening in 45 minutes, so I got to get over there. All right. Shoot.
Enjoy yourself.
Sorry, guys.
Have fun now.
Bye.
All right.
That was nice to have Alan here with us.
And
you got to dodge the Jared Leto question.
It was a good conversation. All right, so I'll briefly bring up the other funny news story I put at the start, and then I'll go ahead and give you two what you want. So the other story is, as of today, it was confirmed because I feel like it's been confirmed before, that Legally Blonde 3 is officially coming. Reese Witherspoon is signed on. It'll be coming in May 2022. And the film is being co-written by Brooklyn Nine-Nine creator Dan Gore and Mindy Kaling. I've only seen the first Legally Blonde, and it was a long time ago, but I remember thinking it was fine, and I have not seen the sequel, so I don't know anything about that. But Mindy Kaling is a really good writer.
She just had a baby.
And I think that Brooklyn Nine-Nine is one of the funnier sitcoms on air right now. So the idea of them coming together to write this, sure, yeah, I'll give that a shot. I mean, Mindy Kaling's last film was Late Night, and I thought that was really, really good. So I'm totally down. Yeah, it was really good, surprisingly good. It's on Amazon. It's on Amazon if you have that.
I like literally forgot. Like, it came out in theaters, and then by the time it hit Bombshell, that was another one that I wanted to see when it was in theaters, and I just forgot about it when it came to digital. So I'll get around to it, like, if I'm bored one day. But this is one I was looking forward to it this year, because I don't like a lot of comedies. Like, comedy is not my forte, and like Legally Blonde, I really like Reese Witherspoon. I like Luke Wilson. I remember watching those movies with my sister because she really liked those. So yeah, I'll watch that when it comes out. That's all I got to say with that. One of the things that more of like the trifecta. Devin, do you want to bend and snap, or do you have anything to say about Legally Blonde 3?
What?
Bend and snap. It was in the movie. You bend and then you snap. That's how you get the guy's attention. You bend and then you snap. It was a whole scene. Am I the only one who has seen the Legally Blonde movies? For fuck's sake, guys, come on.
I mean, okay. I recognize what you're doing, right? Like the motion.
Third. So that's Legally Blonde 3. There is rumors of Creed 3 saying that Michael B. Jordan is possibility making his directorial debut for Creed 3. I love it. I would love it even more if it was Jordan and Stallone as a team directing Creed 3.
Yes, so that was one of the ones I was originally going to go to the DC one. I'm sure you're going to talk about, but sure, we can bring that up real quickly. So,
I just thought in the chat.
It was mentioned according to Deadline, so that is a very, very solid source.
Yeah, I believe
that Michael B. Jordan is being tapped to both direct and star. Now, Michael B. Jordan has been taking a step in a production role recently. It was announced last week that he would be serving as a producer on Warner Brothers' upcoming Static Shock movie. He was also a producer. He was also a producer behind last year's Just Mercy and is producing an upcoming action film Without Remorse. If he does direct, if he does direct Creed 3, it would be his directorial debut. The film also has a screenplay writer attached in, as of now, unproven screenwriter Zach Balin, whose only written script is a film called King Richard, which focuses on the childhood of Venus and Serena Williams. That movie is in production right now.
Yeah. So I trust him because I don't think that he goes halfway on anything, and I don't think he does something unless like he thinks he can do it. Michael B. Jordan has just like skyrocketed. He has had maybe like the best decade of any actor that's out there. Like the way that he has transitioned from like I saw he was doing like voice acting stuff like the first time that I was seeing him, and now he's like doing stuff with the Creed movies. I think he's the perfect like choice to direct. I did say like if it was him and Stallone directing it, kind of like being like a co-director situation where like a Russo brothers type situation, because I think both of them know those characters so well. I really hope that Stallone is coming back for the third one. I know they haven't said anything about that. I'm wondering if it's actually going to be his directorial debut, or if they might try to like get him like an indie movie to direct before that, because Creed 3, you hear that it's not in production, they haven't shot anything. That's 4 years away, I think, minimum.
Yeah, and I was going to say, just in the last few years, it's weird that he's such a big name, because I went to look up his filmography, and he really hasn't made that many movies. But in the last couple of years, especially since he started taking up more producing roles in films, the directors he's been working with have been brilliant choices. Like, obviously, working with Ryan Coogler. He's worked with, I thought Stephen Caple Jr. did a great job with Creed 2. Destin Daniel Cretton did a great job with Just Mercy. And the director of Without Remorse is Stefano Sollima, who most recently made the Sicario sequel.
Did you ever see Chronicle?
Yeah. It's brilliant.
Yeah, dang on in that, too. I was just thinking you were talking about Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah. Yeah. And Josh Trank, obviously, who...
Josh Trank. Release the Trank cut, guys.
Oh, God.
No, that's one I don't think will ever happen.
I don't think Josh Trank would ever actually want that to happen. I think he wants that movie to burn in hell.
Oh, no, I think you want that, because I think that was a good movie. Because what I like about that movie is that the first time I saw about that movie, halfway, like the first third of that movie's over, and I'm thinking to myself, why were the reviews bad for this? This is cool. The guy's on fire. It's scary. And then they do the time jump in the movie, and then everything after that just, it's fantastic.
Yeah. No, I mean, literally, like I've mentioned it a couple different times, I think, but like to me, the first like half hour of that movie is decent enough. It's not terrible.
Scary.
And then it's like, and then the words 1 year later show up.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's like, wow, the quality drops. You can start killing where the reshoots were put in because of her terrible wig. Like it is incredible how much that film drops.
Remember when Kevin Spacey threw her in front of a train?
What?
Threw Kate Mara in front of a train?
Yeah. It's on House of Cards.
Oh, never seen it. Never seen
Remember when she served a subpoena to Tony Stark?
No.
That I do remember. That was Iron Man 2, right?
Yeah. Iron Man 2. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. No, that was her.
She's in Iron Man 2.
Huh. I love Kate Mara. I think that movie really kind of tranked her career.
Oh, God. I mean, she had the
That's not even a word.
Right? Had the Martian come out right after.
I just hit a random one.
Yeah, but it worked.
Funny, but it was funny.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll go ahead. I'll let you guys have your 10 minutes of nerdum here. This week we've had two different reports in relation to we're not going to call it the Snyder Cut. It is Zack Snyder's Justice League. It is confirmed that both Jared Leto and returning as the Joker, and as of today, it's been confirmed that Joe Manganiello as Slade Wilson, Deathstroke, are both on set filming scenes for the upcoming. It's officially a miniseries, a 4-part miniseries heading to HBO Max in 2021.
And that's so they can be nominated for Emmys. That's the reasoning behind
that. Nikki, we have had our back and forth on this. We know we both have our different opinions, and that's totally fair, but I'm never one to stop the fun. So go ahead. Joker and Deathstroke are back. What's your thought?
First off, Devin was... I told him to wear his Jared Leto Joker coat. He didn't do it.
Okay. I tried digging for it,
and you couldn't
but the entire time I was digging for it, I didn't see a single piece of it. So it's buried.
It's somewhere.
I'm fairly sure it's in that pile. But it's buried.
And there was going to be a crowbar. I was going to have him beat me to death and then blow me up.
Jesus.
Shut up. Yeah. The Robin costume. God, don't be filthy, you guys. God. He did kill Robin, apparently. So,
apparently. Unless you play Death in the Family and save him.
Joker. I think that Jared Leto is... Just let me talk, for Christ's sake. I'm talking about Mr. J here.
Sorry, Mark Robin.
So... I think he's the most comic book accurate Joker that we've ever had, just as far as his origin story goes. Forget the damaged tattoo, forget the grill. I'm talking about like backstory from what we saw in Ace Chemicals with Harley Quinn. There's a lot of stuff with Jared Leto's Joker that is implied and not spelled out. That's what I really like about it. It's subtle in points,
but they spelled damage
in points. But that's why I think he's the most like comic book accurate. Jack was comic book accurate too. It's just I feel like Jared Leto's Joker, you're pulling him from the comic books, putting him in that movie, and putting a damage tattoo on his head. So when I heard this, I was excited because I think he gets a bad rap. And I think he was promised a lot of things that he didn't get. So before they ever did the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie, they had like 3 different Joker projects with Jared Leto attached to it. They were going to have a Harley Quinn solo movie. They were going to have a Harley Quinn Joker movie. And then he was going to appear in the Harley Quinn Birds of Prey movie. And then they just ended up having a stand-in for that. So I think he got a bad rap for that character. And that's one of those situations where hashtag release the Ayer cut. Studio interference. He was supposed to show up more in that movie. They say they have a lot of stuff on the cutting room floor that they can use. I'm wondering if they're using that for Justice League. But the story seems to be that they're shooting new stuff for Justice League. So that really excites me. Joe Manganiello, that really excites me too, because we never saw him as Deathstroke other than that last credits. It was clearly a Snyder-directed scene. Just because you can tell by the way he walks up, and cinematography in that scene compared to the rest of the movie is just amazing.
And I do not know if this is still to be the case or not, but prior to it being announced that he was on set, it was confirmed that post-credit scene would still be appearing in the new cut.
Without a doubt. I think that I can even tell by like the score. The score, the cinematography, the lighting. Because it
sounds like junky and it sounds a little different.
It's junky XL when they do it, and it's they don't do that over contrast thing that they did with the rest of the movie, the oversaturated stuff. Like I have never seen grass greener in my life than in the theatrical cut of Justice League. That doesn't exist. That's not Earth.
Somebody watered their grass. That's all it was, man.
All green grass has never seen greener grass than that.
All right, so
did we pause for a laugh there? Is that what happened? Okay, I got one laugh track, guys. One. That's all you get. There you go.
That was great.
But I'm more excited about Jared Leto than I am about Joe Manganiello. I love Joe Manganiello. I hope we see something cool with Deathstroke. Just him killing some guys with a sword. That's all I need to see. Fingers crossed that he gets a scene with Batman. But as the Robin fan that I am, I'm hoping that we actually get to find out if it was Dick Grayson or Jason Todd that Jared Leto killed. And I'm wondering if Margot Robbie will make an appearance in this. Because if we're looking at Justice League coming out after Suicide Squad, last thing we saw was Jared Leto breaking Margot Robbie out of prison. But then again, if they release the air cut of Suicide Squad, that ending might be different altogether. So,
well, I was gonna say Birds of Prey does count. So he did break her out, and then she chucked them to the side.
Yeah. So we don't know. Maybe we'll see her. Maybe it's like, I think the most likely scenario is that we're gonna see Jared Leto's Joker as part of that nightmare dark side future, where it seems like one of these episodes that we're getting is going to be entirely the future that we see in Batman versus Superman, where Superman's a dick and the Flash needs to run back in time. That is going to correct itself, because it kind of was never mentioned in Joss Whedon's Justice League. Like, he brings Lois out, he calls her the big guns, Lois is the key type thing. Mm-hmm. But from the trailer that we got, one of the things we see, the Hall of Justice, which it's like the first shot of the Snyder's Justice League trailer, is that it shows the Justice League sign, and then it shows behind him, and it's that hellscape that Darkseid have. If you look at the geographical like patterns and stuff, that's the lake that Bruce Wayne's manor is on. That's the hellscape, like where the things coming out of and it's just a dried up lake. And that Justice League, that's the inside of Wayne Manor, where they said we were setting the table up with 6 chairs. You see 2 things. You see a portrait of Thomas Wayne that tells you that was there. And then you see a Joker card floating in the wind. So I think what we're going to see from Joker in that movie is we're going to see like kind of like this alternate future version of Joker before Flash does his like Lois is the key thing. He has a little mustache. Yeah. That scene from Batman.
I forgot he had a mustache. Why couldn't they shave that?
That was one of those things where when I saw Batman versus Superman, that was the first thing that pissed me off.
I didn't realize it was Ezra Miller.
He's buying milk. Why does Barry look like a hipster who can't afford a haircut? Like, Barry's never been ponytail, beard, hippie. That was my problem. I'm glad he actually looks like Barry in Justice League for some of it, but then they do the cut where they're doing reshoots and the blue screen's behind him and he has a different haircut. So,
Devin, anything to
add? Just the song from the trailer.
Good talk.
Hallelujah! Holy shit!
No, so I have not put nearly as much thought into this as Nikki has, so I can't bring that much insight. But what I will say is, I never had a problem with Jared Leto's acting or Jared Leto's execution of the character. I never understood why they wanted to take the Joker that direction, but I thought for what Ayer clearly wanted to do with it, I thought Leto executed it as well as he could have. I don't get why he gets the hate. It's not like he wrote the character. And so for that, sure, I'm sure both of these are just going to be small, tiny cameos. I don't see how they could possibly get much bigger roles than that. So for that sense, sure, I'm cool with it. Manganiello was a casting that always made sense to me as Deathstroke, so to see him get a little more screen time, absolutely cool with me. Yeah. Flash Thompson, we mentioned him earlier. Yep.
We second time we've talked about him tonight, and he's married to Sofia Vergara, beautiful woman, great accent.
Good for him.
Voluptuous.
So I was going to say, before we move on to another story, just because Chris, you did comment it, I will address it for you. I didn't include it in the news stories because it was re-reported, but most of the story is not actually new. But he put Power Rangers second attempt. Yes. So it was confirmed earlier this year, back in January or February, that I am not okay with this co-creator and director and end of the fucking world director and co-creator Jonathan Entwistle would be writing and most likely directing a Power Rangers reboot. There was no real confirmed.
We're big Power Rangers fans here.
Yeah, there was no real confirmed plot point behind it. So a few days ago, the story was essentially reconfirmed, and there was another little tidbit added that apparently whatever film direction he is taking it will also have some tie-in to the television side of things, whether that means a rebooted version of the show that takes the appearance with these characters. Devin, you got something?
We're just arguing whether it's a good idea or a bad idea or not. I think it's a terrible idea.
I have something actually.
He does have
to reboot it.
Relevant until y'all started talking about it. But so a little while ago, I saw something about Hasbro, who is the one that works with
Power Rangers. Yep.
From Saban. So Hasbro cut tie, or is going to cut tie, or something like that, with Toei, where they get a lot of the stuff for the shows.
Okay. Yes.
And they're going to be focusing. They're going to be shifting towards the comics or
fully produced content.
You mentioned non-kid content.
The comics have been really well. Like if you're into comic books and you watched Power Rangers when you were a kid, that's the type of stuff that you want because it's that original cast, but it's adult. And I just want to let this, since we're talking about it, I'd like to take this moment to mention that Jason David Frank, White Ranger, Green Ranger, Red Ranger, he was my first karate instructor. And I love the guy. So thank you for teaching me karate.
Really?
Thanks for giving me my white belt.
Don't you get a white belt for showing up? Or do you have to actually? Oh, okay. Well, hey.
But I had to take a picture with him, and I got his autograph. It was awesome.
Hey, that sounds like fun. Was it like a full on class you taught, or was it like an experience thing you went to?
It was like it was like a full day like seminar thing.
Oh, okay.
Where like you stay there for like 5-6 hours, and he'd teach you karate the whole time, and then like you'd get your white belt, and then like the next time you get your yellow belt. Like it was really cool. Like it was to sign kids for karate, and like it was a stunt thing, but it worked. Like it got me into karate.
That's cool.
That's one thing I will say. When there is like real Power Ranger news that you guys need to hear about, we will tell you about it because we love Power Rangers. We loved the movie that came out a few years ago with Naomi Scott. I want an adult Power Rangers movie because I think that, and I don't even need it to be too adult. I keep saying this. I think that Power Rangers needs to go away from adapting the like Japanese B-roll footage that they have. Stop trying to do what made the show successful at first when the show had a budget. I think Power Rangers would be best to go in the CW direction. So CW Arrowverse, I think they should use that as a template for Power Rangers because I think that's the tone that they should go for. Not completely adult, but kind of like teen angst drama on the CW where you can have your teenagers with attitude, but still have it be bloody and actiony that adults like.
I was going to say, that last Power Rangers movie was like literally 2 steps away from almost having a sex scene in it if it wasn't more kid friendly. So
it made me pretty excited. I mean, jumping in a lake always makes me excited.
Fair enough.
Craig was there looking on.
I was a fan of that movie as well. I don't think it's amazing, but I think I was really impressed with what they were able to do with it, especially because it was on. If we're comparing it to what Turbo and the other one.
Turbo and Ivan Ooze. Turbo is like a TV movie at best.
Well, Turbo literally was a TV movie. I don't know how the fuck that ended up in theaters, but I was talking about it with my friend the other day because he grew up watching Power Rangers, and we were talking about the movies, and he said 3 movies, and I said no, there's 2 movies, and Turbo's an extended pilot that somehow found its way to theaters. It's not a movie. Come on.
Every time Devin brings up Turbo as a movie, I tell him, okay, Turbo wasn't a movie. I was alive then. Turbo was not a movie. That was the pilot to the series. It's like the pilot or the finale. It's bad. It's not a movie.
Yeah. So I watched Power Rangers when I was growing up. My biggest problem, and still even on a critical level to this day, my biggest problem with Turbo, and I realize this is the Power Rangers formula, so I can't shit on it too much. They give 0 reason for them to switch powers. Like, it's not like the powers broke. Like, there was nothing wrong with the Zeo powers. They just were like cars.
Borrowing Japanese footage.
Yeah, right. And
that's what pisses me off. Don't do that. Stop doing that. If you're listening to me, don't do that. Just make your own call it Power Rangers.
All right, which new stuff for Beast Morphers.
I hear what you're doing, but they were still taking the props the costumes. What I am saying is they need
remade a lot of the
either
props
they need
actually,
either
because
but
it was
no,
from
the
2012,
design,
so a lot of
Devin,
the
the
stuff wasn't
design,
really
the
there.
concept.
So
I
had
think
to
what they
redo it.
need to do with Power Rangers is they need a completely independent operation. So either an American-made or Canadian-made TV
Well, if
show.
well, technically most of them
They've
have been filming in New
New Zealand
Zealand.
I know
They're
that.
filming in New Zealand, but
Yeah, it's not about where they film. It's about
so
the
well,
bulk
there's a
of
lot of
the
New
film.
Zealand actors too. It's basically a New Zealand production, but
So yeah, my
but
problem is that there's no other like
honestly,
good TV show on TV
they're-
that's taking Japanese footage.
if what Devin says is true and they're severing ties with Toei, then they're probably going to head that direction, which probably then ties into why Jonathan Entwistle would have some say in the TV direction. That probably is where they're going.
I hope so. But what I want to do is I want them to keep the kid-friendly Japanese stuff. Keep that on Nickelodeon. All I'm asking for is that you like since that stuff is so cheap, you build the brand with the people that grew up with it. People that grew up with it still want it.
And it still must do decently well. There's a reason it's still on air.
Well, it's on air it's a commercial for toys. The toys is what makes them money. That's why they don't mind taking the Japanese footage, because the Japanese footage is what's showing off the toys.
All right. Yeah. So if you guys are ready to move on, I have here. I'll go ahead and pitch you. I'll pitch you because we can do a couple more stories before we kill the show. I'll pitch you 2 stories. I have one related to a dumber, funner topic, and I have one that could actually bring real discussion. What are we feeling at the moment?
All right. Bring the real discussion under the assumption that I can veto it at any time for the dumb one.
Fair enough. All right. So we have, obviously, with everything happening with COVID, obviously it's had a lot of repercussions with a lot of different things around the world. But as this channel comes together under, the guise of us all being Schmodown fans and movie fans, it becomes kind of important as to what it does for the world of movies. And the biggest thing that COVID has impacted in the world of movies is box office and box office totals and theater existence, essentially. So we have 2 stories in relation to that. The first is with Christopher Nolan's epic Tenet slowly starting to make its way to finish up its theatrical run. AT&T CEO John Stankey, in an earnings call with Deadline, gave a brief quote on the grossing of Tenet, where he said, quote, "I can't tell you that we walked away from the Tenet experience saying it was a home run." Now, for those of you, everyone here would really know what's going on. Essentially, most films opted to either push their release or jump to VOD. Tenet was the one blockbuster that said, we're going to swing for the fences and try. And they gave it a full-on worldwide theatrical release. Now, Tenet did earn, obviously taking out the context of its gross, or its production budget, Tenet did gross $334 million. However, it just only broke $50 million domestically, which means most of that
overseas, right?
That's including overseas, yeah. So it did about $50 million domestic. The rest of it's international numbers. But the movie, there were reports going around that because of money lost due to delays, the movie was needing to make nearly $800 million just to break even at this point.
I wish they would learn.
Needless to say, they lost a lot of money. Now, the reason that I bring this up as a prelude to another story is, according to Variety, we know that the upcoming James Bond film, No Time to Die, was recently bumped from its November date to an April 2021 date, meaning it'll be releasing about a year after its original release date. So, essentially, in a joint article reporting situation between Variety and Bloomberg, apparently it is being reported that the film has already lost, in the deficit, an extra $50 million on top of marketing and production due to the holding over of the film sitting on a shelf, essentially. So they're already in $50 million more in the hole. And apparently at some point before they jumped its release date, there was discussion with both Netflix and Apple about selling the singular rights of this film to a VOD streaming in what would have eventually equaled to a $600 million sale of the film. Now,
what I
obviously, so I was going to say, obviously, we know that did not end up going through. The movie is going to still release to theaters in April, and they're going to take their chances on things improving there rather than sell it to streaming. But I think this does bring up an interesting conversation.
No, it does.
There were three options: hold out and release now, hold out and release later, or jump it to VOD. We've seen now that one of those is not viable, and that is Tenet taking the hit. So do you think they made the right call?
So I have a lot of opinions about this, and it's funny that Tenet is the one that we use as the metric, because I feel like Warner Brothers should have learned their lesson a few years ago with a little movie called Justice League. Now, all this stuff where they're saying loss, where they're saying gain, all of this is based on the fiscal year standard that all these corporations like run with.
Absolutely.
That's kind of how it was with Justice League back then. They view gain, loss, they view all that stuff in their annual budget whenever their fiscal year begins, ends, whether it begins in January, whether it begins in February. It's different for each company. When it comes to these net gains, net loss things, you're only really concerned about this fiscal year thing if you're the CEO or the CFO of the company that's under contract and needs to like get these numbers in before a certain date so that you can have this number when your Christmas bonus comes out. This year, like a year like Justice League, I at least understand the corporate greed of the CEOs, of the executives, to rush that movie out. Here, I don't understand it because everybody's playing under the same conditions. Everybody has to deal with this COVID right now. So if you're pushing the movie back until the next fiscal year, and that's going to read as a loss for that year, nobody's going to hold it against, or at least nobody should. I hope these like higher ups, the board of directors and shareholders and stuff, aren't holding these studios responsible for these major losses that they're having, because it's a pandemic. You're going to have losses. That's why I've said from the very beginning that with Fast and Furious did the right thing right off the bat. They're saying, you know what? We can't read this terrain. The movie's already been made. The movie is in the can. We've barely started our marketing. We had a Super Bowl ad. That's all we've done for marketing. And people aren't going to forget about the Fast and Furious. So we're just going to see you next year. We'll see you next year. We're going to just say we're not going to do it. That's the most responsible thing to do, both financially and socially, because you should not encourage people to go to the movie theater. No offense, Aaron. I know your job depends on it.
I was going to say, I no longer work at a movie theater. Yeah. I do still go to them, but I've only gone.
I've been able to go. Nobody wants to go with me.
Anytime that I go, I usually check out the seat sales ahead of time and make sure there's not more than maybe one or two other people in their tops.
I just think the best thing to do is freeze it. I think the best way to do is freeze it, because the executives, the shareholders, everybody's dealing with the same circumstances right now. And I think this is something the theaters should do too. And the overhead, because a lot of these theaters don't own the building that the theater is in. So like the AMC near us, it's this big like strip mall. And I'm pretty sure the owner of the AMC there just rents the space. It's like they have to lease it. They have to do that stuff. So I was going
to say, as somebody, obviously a much larger scale and price, but when I was a part of the smaller end of management at the AMC Disney down here, I definitely learned a little bit about how that leasing stuff works. And essentially, to boil it down, obviously that one's a little more complicated because it's Disney and it's pricey, but to boil it down, yes, essentially movie theaters are renters. They are renting the home they live in.
That's why the only right decision to do right now is, I think, to freeze everything, shut down, because you're still going to have to pay the rent. You're still going to have to pay for the lease stuff. but you're not going to have to pay for the electricity that those buildings run. You're not going to have to pay for concessions. You're not going to have to pay staff. Again, no offense to the staff. I know you have to work, all that stuff. It's just looking at it from a theater standpoint, trying to keep the movie theater industry alive. The best thing to do right now, the socially responsible thing, the fiscally responsible thing, shut down for now. Hopefully by April. April, I think, is a month that people are circling that maybe we can get like normal movie
because
release.
by
yeah.
by March of next year, it'll have been a year since lockdowns first began.
I hope by April, like, so I would say until there is an FDA approved vaccine, do not open the theaters. And that's just speaking in very American terminology. I know other places, and that's another hard thing that these things have to do. America, we're the epicenter of where they make movies. So other places, they may not be locked down by COVID, but they're not making any new movies right now. And people don't want to release their movie overseas before they release it in America, because other than Tenet, where the worldwide box office is where it made everything, America is where they make the bulk of their money.
Mm-hmm.
So these brands like Wonder Woman, James Bond, anything that has an IP, freeze it, wait until the movie theaters reopen on a mass scale, and then you'll be able to get $1 billion weekends again.
And I would say,
if you're something like Antebellum, I think is a perfect example. That I think that was the smart decision to release that movie on demand. Mulan is not a movie you release to Disney Plus. That is a movie you freeze, you sit on until the movie theater can open again.
Well,
so I think there are movies that can be released on demand. Bill and Ted. We were watching Bill and Ted earlier tonight. That's an on-demand movie. I think that's a movie that's completely fine releasing on demand. Black Widow, Fast and Furious, Daniel Craig, James Bond. Those should not be released outside of theaters. Sit on it, wait. They're already made.
I was going to say part of let me think about what I want to say, the wording. Part of it, God, my brain's frying at this moment. Yeah, words. I'm fried. But I think what you are saying, what you're saying is correct. I think what you're saying is the smartest sound. Yeah. Unfortunately, I think there's a little more of a factor, because I would like to think that they are thinking about the theatrical model and doing something to keep theaters alive.
Yeah.
Also, I was going to say, the international thing, you're talking about Tenet's international box office. I think part of the reason Tenet did so well overseas is because it essentially held monopoly. When you're the only thing out, you're the only thing that can make money.
I think the number one movie in the box office right now, domestically, is The Empire Strikes Back.
Possibly. I know one of the Liam Neeson movie was number one last week, the new Liam Neeson film that came out.
Oh, wow. See that, and that's what I think that, and I understand that there are theaters that are like trying to like beat it. They're trying to make money during this time. The way that I look at it is, you got to cut your losses. You got to live to die another day. Another James Bond movie. You live to die another day. But that's what I think it ultimately comes down to. They'll try. There are theaters that will try to stay open, but they'll lose. I hate that they'll lose, but they will lose. And I always say this: people are predictable. And I think if you look at the patterns, I just
the whole point of the third season of Westworld.
Yes, that season was a very predictable season of television. I didn't even have to watch it, and I could have told you what would happen. Anyway, let's get to the silly news. What was the silly news?
All right.
Then we can wrap it up if you want.
So I can bring up one or two more. I had just pull out a bunch of stuff, so I can just pull out the most important stuff and talk about it here. So the dumb silly. Well, okay, if we want to go to the silliest one, if we want to go to the silliest one I have first, and then we can discuss anything else after, depending on how long we want to go for. So recently, there, due to the thing that divides the U.S. the most, political opinion, Chris Pratt has been receiving a lot of internet hate, and people have been deeming him the worst of the Chris's, which is this like internet joke thing of like there are 4 major Chris's in Hollywood, and people try and rank them. Well, a major entertainment conglomerate has come to Chris Pratt's defense. YouPorn.
The worst Chris. We all know this. The worst Chris is Chris Brown.
Yes, but so YouPorn actually released its statistics on popularity of the Hollywood Chris's based on YouPorn searches. Now, unfortunately, I only have the chart. I don't have the numbers with it, but number one by, I mean, goddamn, it's almost like a triple bar length is Chris Evans.
Pine, right?
No, it's Chris Evans. Chris Evans is the number one searched Chris on YouTube.
I mean, one's Captain Kirk, one's Captain America, but we never saw Captain Kirk's dick. So then, but the other 3 are all pretty much right next to each other. Chris Hemsworth is 2nd, Chris Pratt is 3rd, and Chris Pine is 4th. So according to YouPorn, Chris Brown did have sex tape though.
Well, Chris Brown did have a sex tape. But according to YouPorn, they're backing Chris Pratt, saying he is statistically not the worst Chris in Hollywood. You can all hate him politically, but you still want to come to him.
I would bet if you're going with those 4, if it's a YouPorn survey, I'm guessing Hemsworth is the worst. If it's a YouPorn survey.
It's Pine. Pine is actually the lowest.
Pine.
Yeah, Aaron just went through the list.
I just went through. Hemsworth is 2nd, Pratt's 3rd, Pine's 4th.
Evans, Hemsworth,
guys,
Pratt, and Pine.
I'm not going to talk to your YouPorn searches or what you should search for there. Chris Pine is Captain Kirk. That's all I have to say, and that's all I will say on the topic.
All right. So we'll go ahead. I'll go ahead and go to the sillier movie one. On the list of movies you never thought would get a sequel, The Meg is getting a sequel.
Oh, yes! Yes! Oh, fuck yeah!
And it's been confirmed that writer-director Ben Wheatley, who is known for films like High Rise, Free Fire, and most recently a new adaptation of the film Rebecca on Netflix, will be directing the upcoming sequel. He will also be working a rewrite of the script that has been written by John and Eric Hober and Dean Gorgaris, who wrote the first film. They have done the first draft of the script, and he will be doing touch-ups to kind of take it to his tone.
You want to know what I think that is? I think they took a script out of the trash and they skinned it. That's what I think that means about rewrite. I think they skinned it with yeah.
Well, I would say that if they weren't the 3 writers of the first film, I would probably agree with you.
Oh, they were?
Yeah, so it's the same 3 guys. They wrote the first draft, and then Wheatley is just going to be doing touch-ups on it.
I love that movie.
I never saw The Meg. It's on my list of movies to see because I've heard it's dumb fun.
Dumb fun, that's the word.
But you know what? The only film of Ben Wheatley's I've seen is Free Fire, and I also thought that was kind of like dumb action.
I love
fun.
Free Fire. I thought that the High Rise, that was the one with Hiddleston.
Yes.
That's the only A24 movie I've seen that I really didn't like.
Really? Okay.
I was just bored.
Like Free Fire. You like Free Fire?
I loved Free Fire. I thought Free Fire was great.
I feel like Free Fire
was like a bottle episode of a movie.
I feel like Free Fire is probably going to fall more under that tone, and if that's what we're getting out of Meg 2, then fuck it, sure. I'll take another giant Meg movie, sure.
Did they say anything about cast?
Jason Statham is confirmed, and he is also apparently going to be giving creative input. No one else is officially
back?
Huh?
I mean, she's not doing Batwoman. Ruby Rose was in the first one.
So the article states that though none of the surviving cast members from the first film, including Lee Bingbing, Rainn Wilson, Ruby Rose, and Winston Chow, are officially confirmed, it is.
No, he died.
I didn't see it. I'm just reading the article.
Oh, sorry.
Just reading the article. It is said that apparently, though none of the actors are confirmed, the studio is thought to be in talks with some returning actors.
Well, I love it.
So sure.
Watch it, man. It's so good.
Sorry.
I'm sure it's on Amazon for like $2. I'll check it out eventually.
Don't forget about it by the time you watch it.
No, it is legitimately. I have a list of like films from the last few years I need to catch up with, and I know Meg is on there.
That was one I saw. We saw that movie, and I say this with confidence. I would not have seen that movie if I didn't have the AMC stubs, the A-list at the time. But God, was I happy I had it, because that was just fun. It's just fun. It's stupid. I like a movie that you can literally laugh at, like where you're going into the movie. This movie is going to have stuff in it that I am going to boo. And I'm going to boo it out loud, and everybody's going to have a great time because everybody's feeling the same way during this terrible movie. But it's fun. It's just fun. He's in this underwater like submarine. It's a fun movie. I think that's a good place for it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I never saw it, but I do remember I still worked at AMC when it came out, and the AMC I worked at had a Dolby theater in it, but it was a Dolby theater that had it had like a giant and like a screen outside that would play animations for the films, and I just remember hearing the people scream because the animation for the Meg was having the shark just lunge at it randomly.
It was great.
Well done.
I was gonna say I saw something like the wall piece. Just let it fall apart. It's natural chaos. All right. We'll go ahead. I'll move on to one final story before we wrap up a little early tonight. So this one's a basic one. Earlier this week, Tom Holland shared the first image, promo image of him as Nathan Drake from the upcoming Uncharted film. The movie is set to be based off of the prequel segment of the third game, Uncharted: Drake's Deception. The film is set for release on July 16th, 2021, and it stars Tom Holland as Nathan Drake, Mark Wahlberg as his mentor, Victor Sullivan, and Antonio Banderas in an antagonistic role. And the film is directed by Zombieland's Ruben Fleischer and co-written by Art Markham and Matt Holloway of Iron Man and Transformers: The Last Night.
The only thing that fits about that is Mark Wahlberg playing a guy named Sullivan. He doesn't fit the character, but he fits the name. Like, there's a lot of guys named Sullivan in Boston. I mean, I'm one of them. But Tom Holland, he's a little boy and he's looking for artifacts. I mean, that's kind of what...
He looks good in the role. Good in the role.
It's the River Phoenix Indiana Jones movie that we all wanted. That's how I feel.
I'm cool with it. I've always thought that one of the hardest things about video game adaptations is trying to create something that lives directly up to what you're doing. And I'm glad that I'm glad that the creators are finally starting to understand if we just take concepts and pieces of these games and try and work off that, we can make it work. Like, honestly,
that's what they do with Old Republic.
The movie was fucking horrendous, but I thought Assassin's Creed actually had the right idea. Don't
adapt a video game directly, but adapt
the concept, the idea,
the spirit of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I thought their idea of the animus of it being something that attaches so you can move, I thought that was a cool addition. I thought the few characters they did bring over from the game, Irons as Rickon, Michael K. Williams was actually playing one of the characters from the games as well. I forget the character's name. But I thought the concept of it was cool. Just whatever happened in that execution.
That with the Old Republic for Star Wars.
It could work, yeah.
Because everybody always says, like, who do you want to play Revan? Who do you want to play Malik? Who do you want to play Bane? I don't want any of those characters to be featured in the movie. I just wanted to take place during the Old Republic. Mm-hmm. That's like all I want. Just have like that backdrop that game had, and just give me some Jedi that are fighting some Mandalorians. Like, everybody would want to see that.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. But yeah, by nature of never really having had a PlayStation, I haven't played any of the Uncharted games.
Last year.
I've seen a lot of them, and there are certainly games I want to play. If I get a PS5, maybe I'll try and see if I can get the PS4 version of the game and play them.
Because it came like as a bundle.
As a bundle,
like,
yeah.
Got the PlayStation 4, and I haven't played them. Maybe I'll do that this week.
But look, it's a movie that's been in Hollywood for years, and everything Naughty Dog has known usually for having good and interesting story, unless you're like one half of the Last of Us 2 player fan base. So I'm interested, and I'll certainly see the film. But again, I think they're taking the right idea. I'm really curious to see where this next series of video game adaptations go, whatever they may be.
I have
because
started principal photography on this one.
Oh, they're already into filming it. They may be close to finishing.
See this one.
Oh, the filming's wrapped. They are completely wrapped. That's why he released the picture.
This one, no matter what.
Yes. So yeah. So unless there's anything else you guys want to bring up, I think that might be the show.
Didn't Chris have something about Battlestar Galactica?
Oh yeah. Okay, that was another one, but I had it towards the end.
Beats.
All right.
Battlestar Galactica. Okay, guys, we covered it. That's the show.
All right, so I'll read it really, really quickly. So the story is, it was confirmed that writer-producer Simon Kinberg was going to be working on an upcoming adaptation of Battlestar Galactica. He is going to be writing it and head producing it alongside Dylan Clark, who is most known for producing the Planet of the Apes trilogy. Kinberg also gave a quote saying, "Battlestar Galactica is one of the holy grails in science fiction. I couldn't be more excited about bringing something new to the franchise while honoring what's made it so iconic and enduring. I'm so grateful that Dylan and my partners at Universal have trusted me with this incredible universe." I don't know if you guys know much about Battlestar. I don't. I know nothing about it.
Watch it. We love Katie Sackhoff. Bears beats Battlestar Galactica.
That's the most that I know about it. I'm always down for seeing new things, and Kinberg's very hit or miss, but when something he's a part of hits, it hits very well. And
directing or just producing?
Producing and writing, thank fucking God, because his direction did not excite me with Dark Phoenix.
His direction, I don't think was the problem with Dark Phoenix, but I see what you're saying.
It was part of it. It wasn't the biggest problem, but it was part of it.
I think that movie died in editing.
That movie died in concept, if we're being real.
Yeah, but don't do Dark Phoenix again. We did it again.
And I will give, I believe it's in January, his second feature, The 355, is coming out with Jessica Chastain and a series of women stars. So, and the trailer seemed fine for that, so I'll give it I'll give him a fair shake. I'll give it a shot.
Like I saw that, I'm like, who are these women? This looks good.
I'll give it a shot. But yeah, like when Kinberg can do something that works, I think he can make magic happen. It's just he's so hit or miss. You know, when you get the goods, you get Days of Future Past, and when you get the bads, you get Fan Four Stick. So it's like which direction is this going to go?
Let's just do that the third time.
Dark Phoenix. Let's try it again.
Third time's the charm, guys.
The first Disney X-Men film is just going to be Dark Phoenix.
Dark Phoenix again.
So unfortunately, it was one of the reasons I put it towards the end. I know I've never seen Battlestar. I didn't know if you guys had.
We watched the first episode, couldn't finish it. Maybe we'll get back to it because there might not be anything new, but yeah.
I know it falls more into the headier, thoughtful side of sci-fi than it is like the pew pew action side.
It's slow getting into, yeah.
So again, Kinberg is okay. He hasn't made very much outside of it, but what's the gentleman's name? Dylan Clark excites me just because I loved all three Apes films, and he was a lead producer on all of them. So that, and he's a producer on the Batman too. So that excites me. But yeah, I mean, there was not much to go on outside of Kinberg's writing, but to me, Kinberg writing is all about who he gets to help him write it. So I guess, we'll have to see more development into that one to see how it goes.
We'll see what the pitch is.
Yeah. All right. So I think normally, we're a show that goes like 3 hours on a good night, but we've done the best we can with 4 people on the panel. Thank you guys for watching this episode. Nikki, Devin, go ahead and outro yourselves.
Devin's gonna be working this week. If I get the motivation, I'll post some videos. Who knows? We'll try to be here next week. Maybe we'll do. Oh yeah, it is Halloween next week, so I'm sure I will get my dates right and wear this costume again.
I'll text you and remind you. I got you. I'll put it in my calendar. 9 a.m. on Saturday. Text Nikki. It's Halloween. Will that give you enough time to get it ready, or should I text you on Friday? It's
Oh, no,
Halloween tomorrow.
I sleep in this at this point.
Oh, fair enough. All right.
You gotta be ready to
don't take it off.
No, I won't.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. My name is Aaron Knoll. You guys can find me on Instagram at Aaron C. Knoll and pretty much everywhere on TMG. I do a lot, including hosting and losing trivia matches. It's a lot of fun. And I don't know, maybe I'll play Movie Battleground again. That one actually went well. I will not be here next week. I don't know what Maddie's got planned, but hopefully himself and the crew, Matt Beer, Kevin Poss, shout out to Alan Shepard for being here for a little bit, and whatever crazy guests he decides to bring in, we will see what happens next week. I will see you guys in November. Go ahead and get us out. After Dark, we'll see you on Halloween. I will see you in November. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Have a great night.
Boo.